Welcome back to Where You Live with Gene and Tony. We're broadcasting from the Concierge Landscape Studios. We're brought to you this hour by Extreme Exteriors and American Family Insurance, the Kim Bennett Agency. And we've got, as our next topic here, we're reaching into the listener grab bag here, and we've got a question, an email that was sent to us.
Yeah, and I want to mention that we love to get questions from our listeners or comments from our listeners. So if you have a question, a comment, or an idea for a topic, call our hotline, 952-224-2668. That's 952-224-2668. Leave us a message or email us at Gene, Gene, at ncmgi.com, and we'll address your question or issue on our next show.
On a future show. That's right. This one, Tony, person said they're withholding their name, and it is asking, can we combine our governing documents together? It says, hey, Gene and Tony, I'm a board member of a smaller self-managed association. The last couple of meetings, we've been talking about simplifying and condensing our governing documents into one item. The word simplifying. Interesting.
Okay.
It seems unnecessary to us to have a declaration and covenants, to have bylaws, to have rules and regulations all as separate documents. It would seem to us more practical just to have one document. Then we wouldn't have to keep comparing and searching in other places when we are trying to get something verified. Before we move on, we decided we would ask you guys your opinion on this matter first. Can you help us? We will be listening for your answer.
This is a new one to me. No one has ever asked me this question before. Can we please combine all our documents into one?
You know what it reminds me of is, you remember that story a couple weeks ago, and one of the initiatives by the president was to...
You're talking about President Obama.
Yes.
Yeah.
To streamline things and to make things more efficient with FHA recertification and all that. And they said, well, hey, here's one thing we can do. We've got one notice on one piece of paper. We have another notice on the other. Let's combine the two. And so instead of having two one-page documents, we'll have one two-page document. Isn't that more
helpful?
Streamlined? and I'm being tongue-in-cheek here,
Sure.
and I certainly don't mean to make fun of our listeners here, but basically that's what you're going to be doing.
Sure.
Even though you have all these documents, you're not really going to be cutting down
or simplifying things.
Simplifying in that way.
Here's another issue with this. There's a reason that these are separate documents, which you might guess.
Yeah.
And that's because they're handled differently. The declaration and covenants cannot be changed. Those issues cannot be changed just by board action or member action, or there has to be a vote of membership. There has to be legal action taken to change those. The bylaws, which are usually about operating your board elections, how to hold meetings.
Yeah, how people operate and relate to one another in the association.
That's right.
How do you vote for someone? How do you elect someone? All those things.
Those are easier to amend, and it will state in the bylaws how to amend them. It will state in the declaration how to amend them. Lastly, the rules and regulations can be changed at any time by the board of directors.
Yeah.
Based on circumstances. Circumstances in the life of a property change. So you may need a new rule about parking, or you may need a new rule about pets down the road. So rules and regulations are highly flexible, highly plastic.
Yeah.
That's why they're separated.
Yeah, that's you're right. The other thing that comes to mind is you have really a hierarchy too.
Absolutely.
You know, where one actually supersedes the other.
Good point.
And so I think one of the reasons why, and it's alluded to in the question here, is, well, if we just had one document, then we don't have this hierarchy. We don't have to take a look and maybe see whether or not...
Make sure we're not conflicting.
We're conflicting.
And by hierarchy, you mean what?
That one will supersede the other. So, for example, if you have a simple rule or regulation and that's usually established by the board of directors themselves, for example, something prohibition about animals or pets.
Mm-hmm.
However, if you're stating one thing and it states something different in the declaration or covenants, that has higher priority.
You can't pass a rule that conflicts with your bylaws or conflicts with your declaration and covenants.
Yes.
You cannot amend the bylaws to conflict with your declaration and covenants. That's the hierarchy, the declaration and covenants rule.
That's right. And so, I've seen it not so much now, but in the earlier days of townhomes and condominiums becoming established, you'll find that some of the writing in the bylaws conflicted with what was stated earlier in the Declaration and Covenants.
I see.
And so when that was established, it was established early on that the Declaration and Covenants have higher priority than the bylaws.
That's a good point. There may have been some conflicts accidentally included in the original documents, so you know which document rules.
Yes. So it may be helpful for this association or any association to go through all of their documents with a fine-tooth comb and to see if there's conflicting information. If there is, you'd certainly want to get rid of that in the very least, just so that things are cleared up.
Yeah. Now, I've seen some associations add requirements to their rules and regulations that they pulled from the Declaration and Covenants. In other words, to try and better communicate all of the information to their members. So you can do that too. You can say, okay, well, it says this in the Declaration. Let's make that part of the body of the rules, but be very careful. And I would be very careful to cite the Declaration in that instance, or you're going to lose track of what you can change and what you cannot.
Very good point. The rules and regulations at that point then are there for the purpose of trying to clarify something that may not be stated more specifically in that earlier document. So we're talking about a couple of things. Can you really decrease the number of pages, making it more efficient document? Probably not.
I don't think it's a good idea. I think it's a bad idea.
Number two, you've got this hierarchy of authority, and it's a good. That's a good thing. The other thing that I thought of is that the reason you have that difference of hierarchy is because you have a different level of difficulty for something to be changed. If this association took all their rules, bylaws, everything, and made it at the same level as the Declaration and Covenants, now the only way a new rule could be established in this association or taken away or amended would be by a supermajority vote of all homeowners. And so they will find that they will not. And
also legal action to write it up. And then you have to file it with the county.
There you go.
I'm sorry. You were going to say that.
And more expense. You're exactly right. Yeah. And just think about how difficult and unwielding that would be. Mm-hmm. What kind of a mess when you just want to establish a new rule now and you go, we can't do that.
And that brings up a good point. I worked with an association where their pet rules, in fact, most of their rules were incorporated from the start in their Declaration and Covenants. And it was a huge problem for the board because anytime they wanted to adjust a rule, they would have had to have taken legal action to amend their Declaration and Covenants. Mm-hmm. The pet policy was in the Declaration and Covenants. No pets over 35 pounds. Well, the realtors sold to people who had larger pets than that. I mean, the realtors from the developer sold to families with larger pets. And then the board was hamstrung at the end because how can we change this rule about the size of pets to accommodate our population of pets without having the expense of amending the Declaration?
And that's a very good point. Part of the reason why you want things a little bit more flexible and a little bit more easily changed is because things are going to change over time. And we see that in terms of society and the number of vehicles we have and parking issues and pets and pet issues. Now we see it with people unable to sell their homes and with renting a property out. So things are going to be changing. There's this ebb and flow of life, and so you need to be able to accommodate. They would not have that same flexibility
That's right.
if they went and made this one document. The other couple things just here in closing I would recommend. Number one, you may want to consider becoming a member of Minnesota Multi-Housing or CAI. Some of the issues that this association's dealing with, I think it would just be good to have that additional resource and other people to be able to go to. We also have webinars that we offer at New Concepts. Our newsletter that we offer that are great resources as well. For our newsletter, you want to just give us a call at New Concepts at 952-2500. Ask for Lori, and you can start receiving information on those webinars and newsletters. And you've got one more item, too, don't you? Sort of a contact information for
I was going to
MHA?
say you can contact MHA at 952-854-8500. You can contact CAI at 651-203-7250.
Yeah. So just some other information that would be good for you to take a look at. Well, we need to take another quick break. Don't go away. We've got one more segment left in today's show.